This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Monday, August 1st, 2017, episode 133. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. At Nicholas M. Craig is my Twitter. InfectionPodcast.com is our website. Joining me, my partner in crime. Some things change, but the host of the show does not, because I'm the co-host. Brian, how are you?
Luckily. Doing great.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. If you were looking for me on the internet, at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you're more than welcome to go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. On the right-hand side, if you want to join our Discord group, it's a great way to find other people playing games throughout the week. I know last night we had two four-mans going for Battlegrounds, and just games are going on throughout the week. So if you're looking for people that are playing maybe 7 Days to Die or Battlegrounds, even I'm sure some people still are playing H1Z1, you can jump into our Discord and get a group going. And even some of the newer games, if there's games that maybe none of your friends have yet, there's a good chance that someone in our group does, because usually we have about 60-ish people online at any time in our Discord. So just go to infectionpodcast.com. On the right-hand side, click Join Server, and then it's a green button, I think, and that will connect your account to our Discord server. Also, we have our Steam group just for notifications of upcoming games of the week, and also will pop up a notification when our show is starting, so you can join that. And of course, follow our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter, just everywhere, so that if we do ever have to change the time or something happens, you get notifications. And sometimes we like to put out specials if we find a really good deal on a game or something, we'll tweet that out. So if you're always looking for a good deal, that would be one reason to follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, and actually we tweeted out last week that the show was a day early last week, and I believe we tweeted that out. It was, I think, the first place that we announced that. So, of course, follow us on Twitter at InfectionCast, CAST, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube. We've been tweeting out those Humble Bundle deals because we're part of that Humble Bundle affiliate program. So if you follow us on Twitter, there's been a couple good bundles going on. We'll get to those during the first giveaway segment of the show. Brian, so what's going on? What have anything important to talk about? What's been going on with you?
Nothing super important other than for our game of the week that we're going to be doing this Friday. It will be Overwatch.
Nice.
The thing is I will not be here because I have another family thing. I guess the thing that I was supposed to be going to next week got moved now to this coming week.
So you're definitely free.
To go to last week. Yeah. So this Friday should be my last thing that my wife has scheduled me to do.
You've got to see. This is the thing. Do you guys have a shared calendar? Do you guys have a shared calendar?
No. I knew it was coming, but I forgot.
See, what you do is you get a shared calendar and just block off every Friday night, and then your problem is solved.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't exactly solve the problem. that doesn't work. Oh, I've got to play a game, honey. That doesn't work with my wife.
I can't imagine why that doesn't work. So we'll be playing Overwatch Friday night. I should be here. Hopefully. Okay. So, if not, people are more than capable of playing. One quick note, because we are playing Overwatch, if you're new to the group and you've never played Overwatch with the majority of the people in our group, which is possible, in our Discord server here, we've got a channel called Pound Servers, and for Battle.net you have a weird username with some numbers after it. So if you're new to the group, go into the Pound Servers channel inside of Discord and just throw your tag in there. If you scroll all the way back, which isn't far,
that way everybody will be able to find you and add you when they're forming the teams.
There's probably 30 tags in here from people that have come and gone and have their battle tags in there. So if you're new and you're going to play Overwatch, throw your tag in there beforehand, or grab some names out of there and add those people to your friends list, so you'll be ready to go on Friday night. Brian,
one thing we did as well is we played some board game.
Board
games this past Saturday.
Yeah, we played crap. What was the first
What
one?
was the name of that game? I don't remember what.
It wasn't zombie dice. It was
It's like aliens and
yeah,
lasers.
Yeah,
and...
Saul can pull the name. It's a pretty common dice game that we played. And then of course there's some good old Uno, which always
we seem to always round everything off with Uno.
Yeah, we started the night with Uno. Martian dice is what we
Martian dice, yeah. So I was able to coax my wife to come play with us because I said, "Oh, we'll play some Uno."
You said, "Oh, I already bought you a copy of this game, so if you don't play, it's just..."
Yeah, I did. I bought her a copy of the game and been holding on to it just so that I can, so that I can
the money's already gone. You might as well play.
Yep. So she played with us and had some fun. So we're gonna be.
Yes.
Are you to the point where you could announce when the next one's gonna be?
Yes. So we're our goal originally, we announced it was a short-lived plan. We were not the most consistent board game group on the internet, but we announced it a couple of months ago, and then we kind of fell off the bandwagon. The second Saturday of every month is going to be our official board game afternoon, evening, night thing. That seems to be a good day.
You're just planning on spending a couple hours playing the game.
If you're free on a Saturday, plot out between 2 and 6 hours depending on the game that we're playing. I really want to try Secret Hitler. That's a really fun board game from all accounts I've heard. Saul, who is our resident board game expert, tabletop simulator, he's our GM. I think he's pretty familiar with that game. So we're gonna try Secret Hitler, and that will be August 12th. So that will be next Saturday. So if you wanna just put a little side note on your calendar, make a little mental note. The second Saturday of every month, this month will be August 12th. We're going to try to play Secret Hitler. It requires 5 people. So what I want people to do is inside the board game channel in Discord, just kind of put a little note if you're going to be there. We'll announce that next week too. But I really want to get that up and going because there's so many cool games that are available with Tabletop Simulator, and a whole bunch of people have it now because it's been on sale I think 4 or 5 times since we've kind of gotten into it the first time. It was on sale on the Humble Store a couple of weeks ago for like $6 or $7. So a whole bunch of people have it. Hopefully you can join us. That'll be Saturday, August 12th. So,
and if you have a game recommendation, one thing we would encourage you to do is let us know, but also be willing to perhaps host the game. So if there's a game that you like to play and you know it like the back of your hand, then it would be a good thing for you to go in and say, "Hey, I will kind of direct that game for the first time we play it." So that we can try to have as smooth of a game as possible. And all you have to do is go look through. There's a huge library of games. And most likely, I mean, every game I can think of, I've been able to go in there and it's somewhere in there. So if it's a game that you really enjoy, maybe you have it, the physical version, go check it out on Steam and you should be able to find that in their library of games and then, offer to host that.
Yep.
And just, if you could let us know what it is and we can try it out, make sure that that particular version of the game works, because sometimes someone's made it and it's broken or, maybe it just doesn't function properly. We can go through, do a quick play test, make sure it's good. And then we can make that one of the official Saturday night game nights.
Yeah. So we look forward to doing that. I know we've got a bit of a crossover between the PC gamers and I know myself and Brian, you've been into it for a while, but a couple of other people are slowly starting to traverse board gaming, and this is a very low cost of entry way to do that. If you've ever tried to purchase or play a board game, they are quite expensive. So this is
I've got a couple $100 worth of board games in there, and I don't have very many.
Yeah, very expensive. So it's a cheap way to
spend
do
all your paychecks on board games.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, easily. I don't have many, and I probably got over $150-$200 in a couple of games. So. Check that out, and of course, for all these updates and stuff on Twitter @InfectionCast or in our Discord. Like on Saturday, we just didn't. We're probably going to do another one this weekend too, because I know I'll probably be around this Saturday. So, an impromptu board game night, maybe.
And that's why sometimes it's fun just to kind of throw some of those quick games in there. Like that dice game was pretty quick.
Oh, super quick. Yeah.
It'd be something that you go in and get a number of games in an hour. Same thing with Uno. That's one reason why we do Uno, is because it's something that doesn't require any setup time. Like people can drop out when they want to. It's a very easy, quick game, and people seem to have a lot of fun. It's really fun to play in a group instead of against a computer.
Yes, absolutely. So check it out. And again, if you want to get in touch with us, a couple ways you can do so. At InfectionCast on Twitter. You can email us. If it's something, I want to stress this because I get private messages from people. Brian gets private messages from people. If it's something related to the show or something that Brian and I should both see, email us if you can to contact@infectionpodcast.com. That goes to both of us because Brian sometimes gets notes and he either doesn't see them or sees them and doesn't say anything to me because we haven't talked, or I see something, I forget to message Brian. So if it's something that is relevant to both of us or relevant to the show, of course you can tweet us at InfectionCast. We both see that, or email us contact@infectionpodcast.com. So enough housekeeping, Brian. Let's jump in. We need a segment for this. Call it outrage of the week, or like I'm really pissed off, or I mean I'm not, but just like we need the PC
rant.
Rant of the the entire show's a rant. That's just kind of what we do. Brian, I'll let you are the resident expert. What happened?
All right, so this is related to ARK, and this is something that probably slipped a little bit under a lot of people's radar because I don't know. I had to read it a lot of times to actually figure out exactly what it was saying. And I haven't heard the outrage that you would normally hear. Like I'd mentioned something about this. Nick went and looked on their Reddit even, and not even a peep about this.
No.
But they have delayed the release of ARK. It is no longer going to be in a week from today because it was supposed to be on the 8th. And so now it's being released, I think the 29th the 29th of August is when the new release date. And the way that they had done it, it just seemed like maybe the DLC, the Ragnarok DLC, was being delayed. But if you read into it, and I went and found it on some gaming news sites as well, that instead of and I don't see anywhere, like if you go look on their post, it still says that the main release is going to be on the 8th if you go look at things. So so they pushed off for 21 days the actual release of ARK. And from what I can tell, this is the PC version, this is the PS4, this is the Xbox version. From what I can tell, all versions are being pushed off to the 29th, and there is reasoning behind this. And this may sound familiar, but the process of getting certified for consoles.
Did we go to an ARK panel? Did we go to a panel at PAX for this?
Yeah, it's similar. I heard the same message. Their certification process took longer. Now, they're not saying that they're still in the process. They actually completed the process.
Yes.
So they announced, here's exactly when we're going to be releasing, the day that the certification process had finished. So so this is probably, and what Nick and I gathered is that it takes them about 29 days to get the physical copies of the media done and get, to get all the collector's edition, all that stuff. They have to have a physical disc that has this version of it on there. And so it probably takes them about 29 days to get those things printed or pressed, depending on how you want to look at it, but probably get those discs pressed and then into the boxes and then shipped out to GameStops and wherever these are going to go. So that is what I'm gathering is why it's taking them about 21 days extra, because that's the amount of time that they're giving for those to be prepared and shipped out to wherever actual physical locations that you'd want to go pick these up at. Other than that, the actual digital copies are completed.
Yes,
but of course they don't want to release digital and then 3 weeks later release a physical version.
So everybody wants to hear what I have to say because I'm always the one that's kind of like, beating up. I mean, let's face it, the game we were talking about, we this exact same problem happened with Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they waited until it was pretty similar ARK. It was about a week or so, maybe a week and a half before the game was supposed to release that they announced it. So my initial reaction was, come on, guys, what the hell? And I probably even said to Brian, this is the difference between professionals and amateurs or something like that. Your initial gut reaction. And as I sat down and thought about it a little bit more, Brian, there's this concept that I have of companies that manage expectations, companies that have gained a certain reputation, the way that people react to things publicly. For example, let's imagine, close your eyes and imagine this one. You're going to have to close your eyes, really tough for this one. Close your eyes and imagine a world where H1Z1 is a final product and is shipping. I know it sounds crazy. If a game like H1Z1 was to be in the exact same situation as ARK, a week and a half before the release, they say, hey, we have to push it back 30 days, I would be absolutely livid. I would be calling for the heads of the people that work at that company. But there's a reason for that. H1Z1, and I know we always bash on H1Z1. It's what we know. It's just it's what you do. H1Z1 has had so many issues throughout their span of falling short on expectations, missing release dates, missing releases, missing content, doing all this stuff. And I would be very upset if they missed another one. ARK, Survival Evolved, and the team that has put this game together have done such an outstanding job with this game and staying consistent with it and doing releases and adding new content that I have a really hard time sitting here and saying, well, you guys have pretty much hit a home run for almost 2 years in the early access part of this game, and now I'm going to grab a pitchfork and go to your headquarters with it. Is it right? Is it right to not have the same reaction? Probably not. But ARK has consistently been I'll just say it, probably the most stably active development game that may have ever existed in early access. I mean, they have been so stable with development from day one. Release notes constantly. Sometimes we do the show, there's like 15 updates in 6 days between when we do shows. We stop the recorder Tuesday night, and by the next Tuesday afternoon, there's sometimes there's 12, 13, 15 updates, and they're paragraphs on paragraphs on paragraphs long. They do so much, and they've exceeded on so many expectations. They've lived up to the expectations, and they've gone well beyond those, that I just have a really hard time sitting here and just absolutely crapping on them. Does it suck that the game is released? Yeah. That the delay is released? Yes. Does it suck that they didn't give people more than 2 weeks notice? Yes. But at the end of the day, Brian, this company's been so upfront, and I just don't know what else to say about it. They have done a stellar job with this game. I have a really hard time sitting here and being pissed off about it. That's the only way I can articulate how I feel about this.
Well, and I get the feeling that they're really doing some crazy things in this release. I mean, if most games, when they say we're releasing, that's just the final time they're doing an alpha patch, and then it's like, oh, here's the game that's kind of similar. Maybe the menus or something has changed a little bit, but here's pretty much the game, and it's released. With this, from what I've gathered, they've done a huge amount of changes, and there's going to be a lot of things between what the version that we see and then the version that's going to be released on the 29th. So I think that and I think once we see what's released, I think people will be like, man, I'm surprised that you were able to get it done in that amount of time. And whatever it is.
And even if it's not,
I think at that point people will back off.
And even if it's not anything, and we're talking about being biased in the chat, and I thought about this beforehand. Our communications with the ARK team we've interviewed 2 people or just one?
One. We've talked to a couple of them, but one.
I think we've only had one interview, and that's kind of the extent of our communication with them. I mean, we really haven't had a whole. They've just kind of done their thing. We haven't.
We talk about them a lot because they're consistently doing.
Yeah,
updates.
I mean, there's never been a point of us to reach out to them to be like, "Ooh, can we get this exclusive?" Whatever. They just kind of just release crazy stuff every week, and there just hasn't been a need to constantly be on them about oh, can we will you come on the show? Will you do an interview with us? There's just never been a reason to do that. So, no, as PH saying, this is sponsored content, and we're going to be in trouble with the FEC. But I mean, I like ARK. It's not my favorite game in the world. I think it's a good game. It's definitely not my favorite game I've ever played. But I just really can't sit here in good conscience and bash them. Again, if this was a different company, if this was Friday the 13th and they did this again, it would say, all right, guys, you clearly didn't learn from your lesson the last time. You've already done this, and you've already screwed people over once, and now you're going to sit here and do it again. From my knowledge, ARK has never, I mean, they've pushed updates back, but they've never been like, oh, this huge thing is happening. Oh, and no, no, it's not. It's not happening anymore. Like we see with some of these other games.
Well, and we haven't seen like we have with H1Z1 to where they're like, oh, here's a list of features that are coming out, and 2 years later they're still not in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Here when they say, oh, this feature is being pushed back, doesn't mean it's going away. Usually a week and a half later, it's in. And so, but I think that this, this will be a minor thing, and I'm sure that they didn't come to this lightly. They were probably hoping, okay, that, this has got to be certified soon. The certification process has got to be done soon, and it just took longer. And maybe this process is taking longer right now for some reason, and it could be partially Microsoft's issue. Because there's a couple companies now that are saying the certification process is taking a long time.
Microsoft and Sony, they both certify.
Well, yeah.
If anything,
I don't know which one they were actually
Sony, because
you think so?
Yeah, because they were first on Xbox, and and the way that the new Xbox One is built, its architecture is similar enough to a regular PC, where it's the PC version and the Xbox version are comparatively similar, while in most cases the PS4 version is very, very different. That's not the case for all games. That may not be the case with this. But they have earned, Brian, I mean, this is what it comes down to, Brian. They have earned the right by being so consistent, by constantly hitting expectations, by blowing things out of the water when they, hey, we're going to do this little thing, and then they well exceed what everybody was thinking they were going to do. They've earned a pass card, Brian. That's what this comes down to. They have been so good to the community. They've been so good on updates. They've been so good on this stuff. They just earn a pass card. There's no way around it. I mean, when you're that consistent for so long, and then you have a little slip up, I'm not gonna kill you over it because you've been consistent. I think they've earned that right. And I may be wrong. Some people may disagree with that. And again, your initial reaction might be like, my initial reaction was I was pretty pissed off about it. Not that I was, going to go stand at GameStop on midnight on the 8th or the 7th to get this. But, it sucks when a game gets delayed like that because, people were waiting for it. People are going to be pissed off. But like I said, they have earned the right to have something like this happen and people not be, literally burning down their building. And as I said, I went on the Reddit when Brian and I were talking about this, and I could not find a post. There were some people inquiring about what, like you were saying, Brian, is the Ragnarok DLC coming on PC on the 8th? There were some people inquiring about it, but there was nobody, and maybe they just have really good moderators that clean all that garbage out, unlike H1Z1. So maybe that's the case, but nobody was like, oh, I hope all the developers die, which is typically what happens, like when games like No Man's Sky, perfect example, where the people were threatening to come and kill the guy, which is the stupidest thing in the world. So I didn't see any of that outrage. It may have been
Stairwave. Sorry, Stairwave's one of the Reddit moderators for H1Z1. He's not talking about you. Everyone else but you.
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're offended. I mean, here's the thing: H1Z1 does any small change, and you go on their forum, and it's just people saying, F Clegg, F Henniger, these guys suck. This game is garbage. Every time. I mean, there's no good conversation going back and forth. When you go on the ARK one, it's just not like that. It's just a better community. It's just the way it is. They've created a better community of people.
Now, one thing I did want to say they're kind of giving a positive side to this as well.
Okay.
They're saying, since this is being delayed to the 29th, rather than just sitting around and saying, oh, well, I guess we'll wait. They said this is allowing them to do some further development on the map for Ragnarok, which is going to be a pretty big map.
Yep.
So they said what we expected to be a gigantic update is going to be even bigger than initially thought. So on release date, the map will be 1/4 bigger than it was pre-planned, which means that which is near enough the island size expansion. So I don't know if that means that the quarter is
The size of the
equal
island?
to that. Just the quarter that they're increasing it is the size of the island.
Probably. That's probably what that means.
And so the update will feature new biomes, a coastal wyvern canyon, an epic boss encounter, new Ingrams, something secret that the Ragnarok team are cooking up. Also be adding their custom creatures to the main game. So, which means it will allow players to transfer them via cross ARK system. So you'll be able to bring over your ice wyverns to the island, the center, and scorched earth.
Cool.
So, yeah. And then they also said because of this extra time, they're really going to be focusing on PC performance. So they'll be, they said, these things will eventually make it, they'll be converting them over to the console as well, but they're going to be really focusing on trying to get the PC performance as good as possible before the release, since they have some extra time. So, if anything, this is just going to do more to ensure a better release.
Yeah. And, now, for example, if they end up delaying this again, then there will be a problem.
Very surprised.
My point is, if they were to delay this again, my tone would be completely different. It would be, okay, you clearly rushed to delay the game, and now you've essentially made an ass out of yourself by delaying it a second time in just a short period. I would be pretty tough on them about that. But again, folks, they just get a pass. They just get a pass. Is it necessarily the right thing? No, I don't know, but they just get a pass. It's just the way it is, and it's how I feel. And I think that's how Brian feels, and I think that's how a lot of other people feel too, because they're just like, hey man, okay, like, the game's already pretty much done.
They pretty much just said, here's exactly what happened, so it's causing this to happen.
Yeah, and PH is saying the ARK ratings went to crap on Steam. That's a quick reaction from people. And again, my initial reaction, if you told me to
wait till it's released.
Well, if you told me to go write a Steam review the second we talked about it, I probably, I wouldn't have, because I think that's ridiculous. But you can go and, I would have gone and left, oh, this sucks, it's delayed 1 star or whatever. But, now I look back on it and go, it's not really that big of a deal. And again,
that release is on a Tuesday. So we will have, by the time the show is starting that day, we should have a good idea of how the servers are handling it. And so it will be released on a Tuesday during our show.
And it was supposed to be released on a Tuesday anyway. So we still do need to decide. And this is probably a little bit better for us. This allows us some time to decide if we want to do a show on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, depending on servers, what time, and hopefully we'll have some more of those details in the coming weeks. Because definitely we've already talked about this with ARK. If you don't get in there right away, you very quickly fall behind. It exponentially grows when people start leveling up, especially as a group, because shared XP and
well, this is better for my school schedule anyways.
Oh, this does work out, right? Will this allow you to finish your class, so you'll have a little lull there?
I think so, yeah, so that I won't fail my Java class.
Would you have failed your Java class if it came out on the 8th?
Well, if I sat there and played for 3 weeks and didn't do any school, yeah.
Which is a possibility.
I know, so this will be better because then I can finish it. Then I'll have some time.
Perfect. So, this this might work out. Yeah, I don't know. And
they only have, like, this week they have 3 small patches. So I assume they're probably going to be having a bigger patch here in the next. I'm sure they're now, with their extra time, they're kind of nailing some of the bigger bugs or some of the bigger performance issues. Do you want me to go through the 3 quick patches that they have? All right. So 264.16. This was July 25th. They fixed a server crash with rafts. I think we might have covered. They had done that one before, something with the rafts, and then this was an update to that. Then 264.2. This was July 29th. They fixed the boss scaling for multiplayer sessions. So approximately 67% easier now. Made baby creatures able to consume from feeding trough at appropriate time when they would gain 10% maturity while stasis. So, and then also client-side CPU optimizations. And then 264.22, they fixed an item issue. So that is pretty much the patches this week so far. So it's one of their lighter ones. And I'm assuming it's, as I said, because I think they're probably working on something that will be one of the major version updates.
Yeah, and again, even with those little changes, it was still 3 different patches, and I'm sure they came. Some of them come hours within the one previously because people report, hey, there's a problem here, and it's right away they've got a solution to the problem. So,
Yep.
It's just the way it is.
So now Battlegrounds actually put out one of their bigger updates this week.
Yeah,
did you want me to cover it? Or
no, I've got this. This is good. This is it's crazy that this game has been out for 4 months. Doesn't feel like. And can you imagine we were at PAX about 4 months ago? It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy to think about. We were at PAX.
Seems longer than that.
Just about 4 months ago. It does feel a lot longer than that. This is early access update number 4, the 4th month for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and they themselves this week also created a kind of a storm on the internet, and this had to do with a crate key system, which for anybody that's not familiar with the crate key system, this is how popular games like Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike, how they deal with, and in H1Z1, like they've got you get crates in the game, and then you have to purchase keys to unlock those crates. It's very common.
And they're purely cosmetic.
Exactly. They're cosmetic. They don't change anything. They just look cool. I mean, you look at a game like CS:GO or Team Fortress 2, and people are selling skins for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
Here's one thing that I'm curious of, is there is a smoke, like a gas mask, and there is a ballistic shell. There are certain things that you can get in the game, but right now those things don't affect the player. So they're not actually preventing, like let's say a gas grenade gets thrown. The gas mask doesn't currently protect against that at all, right?
Correct.
If at the point that does happen, do you think that should affect what is in that store? Do you think then the skin should then only affect once you've picked it up, like maybe what it looks like? Because right now, when you spawn into the game, if you have a gas mask in the in your crates, then that means you start the game with one. So then it would give actually a benefit to the player that has that skin, because it's giving them a gas mask to start.
Yeah, I would imagine I would imagine that they'll probably change those into the skins for the mask, so that when you pick up a mask and put it on, it will make it your skin. But no, I don't think they will be giving you actual objects in the game. Because
that's the thing, is right now they do.
No, I know right now.
That's what I'm saying is
they will change that.
That's kind of goes against that whole concept of this is purely cosmetic at that point.
Well, they've made no indication that it won't be cosmetic. If and when that changes, it may not change. If and when that changes, I would imagine that it will only be, right now it gives you the gas mask. In the future, it may only give you the skin of the gas mask that you find in the game. That's what I'm saying with that.
Yeah.
But until I don't see that being a problem. Here's the thing: PlayerUnknown, Brandon. We talked to him for a decent amount of time at PAX. He's done plenty of interviews since PAX talking about this game. He has seen the disaster of some of these other early access survival games, and he's not stupid. Clearly, he's not stupid. There's hundreds of thousands of people playing his game every second of the day. He's not going to do something like that. He's just not stupid, and he's made indications that he's not going to do. I have no reason to believe that he would allow something like that into his game, unless somebody higher above him has seniority and says that's how they want it to do. I don't think he would personally ever allow that. What and they go into this a little bit, and I'll read a little bit of it, because it's, if you really care about the skin crate key system, there's like a couple paragraphs here written up. But while he says their intention is to add the full feature, being the crate and key system, to the game when it moves into actual release. We do need to do some testing prior to launch in the early access period. So and he goes into the fact of trying to build an economy for the game, which is we've seen now, unfortunately, H1Z1 is having to back build an economy, and that doesn't work. Once you pollute the market, it's over with. You really, unless you wipe everything clean, which, I mean, you want to talk about pissing off a group of players and having people come to your office with
There's
burning
a lot of people that
states.
spend a lot of money on these things.
Yes, exactly. H1Z1, if they were to wipe things clean right now, I am certain that somebody would burn down their San Diego office because we know people in our group that spent hundreds of dollars on skins. I personally know somebody that spent over $150 in our group on a skin for H1Z1. If they wiped everything clean, somebody would try to kill people that work there. I mean, it's not right, but I'm just saying that's exactly what would happen because now you're messing with hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars in some cases for people. So H1Z1's having this problem with trying to back build an economy, and it just doesn't really work. So what he's trying to do is saying we're trying to lay down the foundation for a healthy economy after the game launches, because guess what, folks? This is how it works. After the game gets your $20, $40, $60, unless you're, buying, I don't even think you can buy the points in this game. There's no other way for them to make money on you. This crate key system thing doesn't bother me at all because I never buy these. I just have. I've never spent I've never spent any money on crates in maybe I've done it once or twice in a game. If you asked me what game, I wouldn't even be able to tell you, but I'm sure I did at one point to buy something cosmetic. But stuff just really doesn't bother me. And the reason people are more pissed off about it is because they're going to be introducing it in the early access version of the game. The same way people were pissed off when ARK introduced paid DLC, which again, we had no problem with because it was literally like 3/4 of a new game that they were releasing for people and charging them $15. For whatever reason, people believe early access is this like holy sacred area where everything just has to be given to you for free, even though it takes them hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars to get things done, that everything should be free in early access. Again, this stuff just doesn't bother me. So Brandon, they were open to it, and he says, I do understand your concerns about the system, but I feel testing the sturdy economy on the Steam marketplace is necessary at this stage and ultimately beneficial for the game. And once again, this is a purely optional system. You are not forced into participating in it if you do not feel like it. You'll get the fully featured game with a polished battle royale game mode, a wide variety of weapons and vehicles to play with, start tracking, ranking, and leaderboard systems, 2D and 3D replays, and much more. And
a lot of it is they're actually going through and putting in a lot of the clothes that you find around the world. They're putting these into the crates so that people have a catalog of them pretty much, right? So they can start building that economy. Because if you look, there are a few new items like the mini skirt and some of the stuff that you've kind of seen in previous teasers. But a lot of it are the shoes and the shirts and just the hats that you see around the world.
Yeah.
They're starting to make it so that people have those. I had the small gas mask, but now they have the full face gas mask, the ballistic mask, things like that. Those are things that are in these crates. Some of them were, I think, the same as what was in the previous crates. There's the Wanderer's crate. There's the Survivor crate. But, they're adding more and especially rare items in there so that they can start getting about, what's worth something, what's not worth something, and kind of get that market going a little bit.
Yeah. And
if you want to, you can pretty much go and buy skins. I guess if you have a specific outfit that you want,
the marketplace,
go through and say, all right, go to the marketplace and get the specific set that you want, and then that's your outfit.
And maybe this is my American bleeding into the conversation too much, but this is freaking capitalism. I don't care if Brian wants to go and sell his skin. I don't care if Brian wants to go and waste his retirement on skins in the game. If he chooses to go and do that, and the company is the devil if they allow Brian to throw all of his money away into this game, that's just capitalism, folks. Look at all these mobile games that do the microtransactions. Brian, I don't know if you've ever purchased any of those. I know you play that Vainglory a lot. Have you ever purchased anything on that?
They had like a 99-cent thing, and it gave me stuff so I could get some different looking characters, and also helped me get one of the additional characters because you can grind and get them all.
Exactly.
Right? So
why would
if they give you a way to get those things, I always appreciate that, and they may do that still with Battlegrounds. I think they're kind of figuring out exactly what they want. But if they made it to where maybe eventually, if we played every single day, however many hours a day, you could eventually get a lot of things, I'd be fine with that.
And they part of this update is they do say that throughout the week, which currently resets on a Monday, you will only be allowed to open a certain number of crates during that period, and you'll have to wait till the next Monday unless you buy keys to unlock them. Again, it's a system that you don't have to literally buy into, not figuratively, literally buy into to use, or you can play free like a lot of people do. But I mean, folks, this is capitalism. These developers would be stupid if they didn't allow people to purchase things in game and make money off of it. I mean, that would just be the
This
stupidest
has one of the
thing
most
in the world.
active player bases as well. If you look at it, a high percentage of the people that have purchased the game are playing it, and server wise, they have to keep. I mean, they've made a lot of money, but they're also putting a lot of money into development.
Absolutely.
Now, but the issue is long term. If you keep playing this game, I mean, you won't be able to play if they didn't have another income source coming in. You wouldn't be able to play this game for 4 years from now and still expect those servers. I mean, we've seen almost 500,000 people
all the
playing
time.
the game at any one moment. Imagine how many servers that is, at a minimum, like 100 per server. I mean, that's a huge number of people.
I just don't care.
So
like, I really don't care if they want to charge people.
But that's
for
like,
stuff.
what's that? 5,000 servers that they have running at any one moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that costs a lot of money.
Again, and
and that's minimum. I mean, they probably have more because that's just if the perfect number of servers were on it and had a max capacity.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've got over 5,000 servers running.
Mm-hmm.
And PH says, those are cloud servers. Those are pretty cheap. Yeah, but 5,000 of them, 5,000 plus. And plus they're constantly fighting against, they can't go with too low of a server. They can't go minimum because they're still trying to optimize the game. And you notice when they make some changes and then all of a sudden like lag is happening, they have to, that's costing them a huge amount of money just to maintain those servers.
Absolutely. So I would tip my hat to the Bluehole team and to PlayerUnknown and say, go for it. And hopefully you're making thousands and I mean, we talked about this a couple of months ago.
As long as they keep putting it back into the game some.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they keep on growing the game and it's not a cash grab to where they're like, oh, look at all this money. And he's shown no signs of that up at this point.
Absolutely none.
I mean, his cash grab is already done. If it was a cash grab, like we wouldn't need to see any more of these updates. Like he's made enough money to go do what he wants for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think he's shown that they're still putting the time, and if anything, this is allowing them to bring on more team members to be able to produce more. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you could look at H1Z1. Let's look at Just Survive and all the money that came into that company. And short of what they've been releasing recently, you could look at Just Survive, 3 months ago, and how is it different than day one release? It wasn't very much different. Well, where did all that money go? With here, like you're seeing new vehicles, you're seeing new weapons, you're seeing all these things coming into it that are constantly improving the game. And as long as that pace continues, I'm fine with them coming up with whatever revenue streams that don't give someone else an unfair advantage in the game. I could care less then. And as long as it doesn't look horrible like the skins in H1Z1 and totally detract from my experience, then I don't care.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at these skins, they're all, I mean, the craziest skin here, Brian, is the Where's Waldo shirt, which is just a red and white striped long sleeve
kind of
shirt.
Weird thing is that guys are going to be able to wear that mini skirt, which will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean,
somebody here doing that.
There's just nothing really crazy in here. The craziest here is like a big puffy yellow jacket or a purple, pair of pants or purple, blazer.
It's like a suit.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't know.
We'll see. I mean,
it doesn't bother
I hope they don't go too much farther beyond that.
No, I mean, again, we literally
as long as they don't go
this,
crazy and as long as they don't start going crazy and doing weird masks and really bright tie-dye stuff.
I mean, we personally had this conversation off camera with PlayerUnknown at PAX, and Brian or I straight up asked him, "Are you going to do these stupid skins? Are you going to do a stupid pig mask like H1Z1?" And he's like, "Absolutely not." He's like, "Absolutely not." So, and again, to today, 4 months later, there's been no indication. There's not even been anything that's like borderline risque. Like the craziest thing they did, Brian, was changing the parachute to the Twitch parachute for like what, 6 days or 7 days or something. That was like
they undid it.
Yeah, that was the craziest thing that they did. And that's not.
So now they have patch notes in here.
So
do you want to go into those?
Yeah, I've got these. So let's jump into this. Brian was talking about. I wanted to show. This is a pretty decent size update. So Brian is talking about, they're introducing new content, they're doing new things. They are, and this is in fact. So again, this is early access month 4. The patch notes for this, a couple of server optimization features. Fences, doors, and windows have been optimized, and vehicle physics have been optimized server side. Now for clients, people actually playing, memory usage for world objects has been optimized, terrain rendering has been optimized, vehicle physics and the user interface have all been optimized, which is good. This game is kind of similar in ARK in the same respect, where it doesn't always run the greatest. You got FPS drops from time to time, and all of these updates are including optimization as they try to make this game a little bit better. Now we do have a new weapon here, Brian. We have the MK14 EBR. Now this shoots 7.62, and it's kind of like a machine gun here. And you can see it's got a
it's got a tripod.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. A tripod. I haven't. It's probably going to make it. What they'll probably do is the stats will probably be a little more accurate because it has a monopod or a tripod here for you to set up with. But it's more of a heavy assault weapon, so that that you can use that. It's got the monopod, and it shoots. What does it shoot? 7.62. 7.62. 10 bullet magazine. It's a sniper. So
it'll take the sniper attachment, so the butt stock.
But it does have that tripod built into it, or it looks. This picture does, or bipod, whatever you want.
Yeah, and that's where I'm curious is that going to come into, like, maybe if you're laying down, we'd be able to unfold. I've seen games like that where you can then unfold the tripod. You can't move around, but it gives you an extra stable long distance shot.
Yeah, and it's a bipod according to Saul. He's
bipod.
It's bipod. Who cares? It's a video game.
But the back of the gun would make it a tripod. But it's a bipod.
Yeah. So you're wrong. So you're validating that you're wrong. So new weapon. It's a rifle. And it can only be attained from care packages, which is, again, H1Z1 kind of has a similar problem where people are like, why the hell do I bother going for this? Battlegrounds sort of had that issue, and now as they introduce more of these weapons into the game that are beneficial, once people start using this, it's probably going to be pretty OP, which again is fine if it's in crates. How many can there be? Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 per match, maybe up to that. So if it's a little OP, that doesn't bother me. It'll cause more people to go for it, more gunfights, quicker games. Stuff just doesn't really bother me. So that's the new item in this month 4 update. In terms of the character, they have added 2 new face presets and hairstyles to the character customization for both genders. So that's new for the characters. A whole bunch of gameplay changes here. So the first one, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, first-person servers. They are here. This wasn't many weeks ago that we talked about this. This was maybe 3 weeks ago that we said, hey, somebody tweeted out that there's going to be first-person servers, and within a couple of weeks, here it is. So now there are first-person servers, NA, EU, solo, and duo. 5s are not in there, or excuse me, 4s are not in there yet. So solos and duos in North America and Europe for first-person. And it says players who choose first-person will be matched together. Now, for the first-person mode, characters' view is set to third-person in the starting airplane and during the free fall, which makes sense for the free fall. But they said in the future update, they will all be set to first person. So you can kind of get in there, but the starting areas will be third person, and then it'll kick you over to first person once you hit the ground. More gameplay changes. The camera will stay still when looting items to prevent dizziness. Added new features to report players.
Yeah, that's interesting because they had that thing on the website.
Yeah, which is
So now they have
convoluted.
something in game.
Yeah, and now this
Yep.
next one is very interesting, Brian. And I always appreciate these little updates where they find either a way that somebody is playing the game that is kind of a bug, or a way that somebody's exploiting something.
Gaming the system.
Exactly. And this is a very interesting one. This is one I've never even I've thought of. Again, I don't play this a whole lot, but some people killed their knocked out teammates in order to avoid giving kill counts to the opponent who knocked them down. So essentially, you're stealing an enemy's kill by killing your teammate yourself. So what they've done for this is now that the kill count will go to the opponent in that specific case. So if I knock somebody out and their teammate finishes them off for me, I still get credit for that kill. Now, if a teammate just shoots another teammate for no reason, it's not going to do that. It will be the old system. But there's really no way of you. There's really no way for you to. I don't know why you'd kill your own teammate. That kind of disadvantages your entire team. So there's really no benefit to that. Moving on with this, added new animations when using different consumables, improved camera transition when you disable the free look using the Alt key. That was always a weird transition. It's kind of instant. It kind of jerks around a little bit. Now, this one is interesting, too. Players now re-enter games if they've been disconnected mid-game. So I would imagine there's going to be a short period that if your game crashes, maybe your internet hiccups or blurps for a second, maybe your power flicks on and off, that if you can get back into the game in a reasonable time, it'll let you back in the game. I don't know what it's going to do with your character. Maybe you'll just be standing still, but it allows that. I may give that a try out later tonight. Now, this next one is ready to piss off the PC gaming community. You may now play with Xbox controllers, and we will continue to make improvements to the Xbox controller. Obviously, we saw at E3 that this game is going to be on the Xbox game program, and this is obviously the first step of that, is trying to, put the controller support in the game, see how people play with it, figure out the issues, so on and so forth. So this is their first attempt at controllers. Sound volume difference from inside and outside of buildings is more obvious now. Added a new sound effect when scoping or aiming a weapon. Added new effects when a character is running or sprinting over different types of surfaces. So now instead of you running all of the time and the same speed on the same surfaces, it may change based on if it's concrete or rocks or just.
I assume if you're going through mud or something,
slow down.
That's
Water.
Yep.
So stuff like that may change. Improved character animations without any weapons or melee weapons. Added a slight delay when using the drag and drop feature on items in the inventory UI. They implemented this delay to provide a fair gameplay environment to all players. So clearly something was going on with people being able to drag and drop things too quickly. I don't really know. Again, I play this game casually. I'm not a streamer. I'm not playing this.
Well, I think everybody is going and just doing the drag thing because they realize it's faster. So I think they're just trying to match up the amount of time of doing one where you're having to wait for the animation versus allowing you to do it instantly.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was I guess, but I thought everybody.
I thought they had fixed that before,
and
so
I thought everybody
just an adjustment to it.
I thought everybody just did that anyway. I just thought I thought that was just kind of the way everybody played. That's a reason to be outraged and go to the company headquarters with pitchforks. And then the final one under gameplay here is improved post-process effect when a character takes damage outside of the blue circle. Items and vehicles, a couple new things here. They added a lower rail attachment slot to the SKS, so more attachments for that.
Do you think this is for the bipod?
Probably. That would be
so that a lower rail. That's actually an attachment that you'll be able to find
probably
attached to your sniper
I don't know
rifle.
What else you'd put on the lower rail of an SKS. I mean, you're not going to put a grenade launcher on it.
Yeah, or a flashlight. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe
a
flashlight.
I mean, if they put a night mode in, I mean, they're probably planning for the future rather than saying, "Oh, we're just going to have a bipod attachment." They're making it so they have a little bit of flexibility in the future to add different things.
Yep. So add that low rail for the SKS. Now, of course, this is going to be great. You may now honk a car horn when you're sitting in the driver's seat using the left mouse click. So every time you see a car now, it will be honking. People will honk at each other. It's just
sit there and click as they drive.
People can't control themselves. This is the online gaming community. Decrease the chance of a vehicle exploding after the vehicle gets stuck in objects. That's important. That happen from time to time. Vehicle driving sounds have been changed slightly. Added new sound effects for the motorcycles, tires. Eliminated firing delay of the S1897 for pump action after reload. Improved effects of the boats. Added a spark effect to flat tires, so when your tire's flat, it'll leave a trail of sparks behind you, like actually running flat. Reduce the cast time for the first aid kit and painkillers to 6 seconds, and then reduce the cast time of the med kit and the adrenaline syringe to 8 seconds. So I believe those were previously 8 and 10, and now they're 8 and 6. If I'm accurate on that, I'm pretty sure it was 8 and 10. Somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And then a couple of UI changes here. Added more features and hotkeys to the options menu. Added a new option for VSync. You may now designate. Now this is interesting. You may now designate a maximum of 2 different keys for each bind, so you can have the same thing. I don't know. I've never really played around with key bindings, Brian. I don't know about you. I know VCK in our community is insane with his key binds. Like he literally plays games with his number pad, like the way he rebinds his keys.
Well, that's the same thing. Like Lance does the same thing. He shifts all his keys over to the right one.
Well,
is ASDW?
Well, I mean that I was shifting it over one is fine, but I mean PH literally plays like with the F keys and stuff. Like he moves with like F5 and F6. Like it's just a very odd play style. So for people that really like to get into the customization of keybinds, and it really pisses him off when games don't allow to change keybinds. He literally won't play them. So I don't do that whatsoever. So these things really aren't important to me. But now if you're a keybind extraordinaire, you can do some changes here. Moving on, you may now use the mouse wheel up and down as one of your keybinds. New keybinds have been added, such as mute all with Control M, switching to the voice channel using Control Y, and a new option to adjust the volume of voice chat with a slider bar. Added new keybinds to use specific throwables. Added a colorblind mode. Added a field of view slider for the first person mode. Some more region names have been added to the minimap, so we'll have some new areas that you can call out or meet up at, which is good. Added a new option to display helmet, vest, and backpack equipped in the HUD UI. The HUD UI will be updated in the future. And added a new option to display all equipped weapons on the right side of the screen. And then they say, again, this UI will be updated in the future as well. Finishing it off, we've got a couple of bug fixes here. Nothing that's too crazy with this. Just some general stuff, some fixing issues, characters that were appearing weird and acting funny, and then just a whole bunch of other bugs and stuff.
They fixed it. There was an issue where bombs were landing outside of the red zone.
Gotcha.
So they fixed that to where it's actually just in the red zone now. So it's probably one of the bigger things that maybe you've been hit by. Another thing is characters farther than 500 meters away from a vehicle will no longer hear the tire screeching sound. So that might help a little bit because we're probably hearing sounds of cars a little bit farther away than intended. So now maybe people will be able to sneak up a little bit easier, or you're not going to have it be a magnet when you're in a vehicle because they won't be able to hear you from so far away.
Yeah. But other than that, this is kind of what I expected with the update. Again, we got a new gun. Pull the picture up of that again. So we got a new gun, and then just a couple of other various changes and stuff to the game. But a lot for the fourth month.
They are changing the field, like a field of view slider.
Yeah.
And so there is an example we'll have in our show notes that just kind of shows the difference between the two different fields of view. So
it's kind of hard to show.
But that'll be in there. It's not extreme. Like they're not making it to where you can see like a fisheye camera.
So yeah, there's that. And now there's one other quick note too. I don't know if you saw this week, Brian. This was Twitch Plays PUBG. This is on the... Are you familiar with this? Oh, okay. So I actually pull this up live. This is in the vein of Twitch Plays Pokemon, which I think you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Okay, so this is in the same vein where somebody has built a bot where they are the game the Twitch chat is controlling
character.
The PUBG. I'm trying to find I'm trying to find the channel, but that is it's Twitch Plays Battlegrounds, and it actually the bot actually came in third place in a game earlier, and this is live right now. What we're looking at, people are just spamming as it's just running into a wall. Actually, it's in the water town, so it's trying to prone. It's got there it is. It has managed to open the door, and now the map is open. So this bot has gotten 4 kills. This bot has gotten 4 kills, Brian. Its top solo rank is 3, and its top duo rank is 48, and its top squad rank is also 3. So as you can see, this character very, very, very tough to get into the house. But this is I think the I mean, there's like a couple hundred people watching this right now. So yeah, this is Twitch Plays PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and now they've left the house. So we'll back out of that. Maybe we'll do a check-in a little bit later on, and see how it's making out. But yeah, that's fun. So it's twitch.tv/Twitch Plays Battlegrounds.
If you have hours to
yeah, I mean,
kill.
maybe you work, maybe you have a job and you have 3 monitors and you've just got this side monitor you never use. Just pull this up and just sit there. It's trying to vault over a wall, which clearly doesn't work. So yeah, check it out.
I don't know how he's gotten those kills unless it was punching. Like someone must have just run up in front of him. They were doing their best to.
I absolutely.
Everybody is just
streams. They say
spamming
stream snipers. No, like people just run up and stand next to him. Exactly. So. Yeah, there you go. Check it out. Cool stuff. Let's see, Brian. We're about an hour in, so I'd say probably announce a game.
We'll do a game giveaway really quick.
Yes, sir. What are we giving away today?
All right. So let me get the keyword in there. So this will be ! Giveaway. It'll be 30 points, and so we're going to be giving away a copy of Saints Row 2. So
cool.
All right, so that should be open now. So Saints Row 2, I'll put a link to it for the Steam page. So, but most people probably know what it is.
Yeah,
but exclamation point giveaway. Yeah, I mean it's a well-known game. But we'll do that here in about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll go ahead and roll for that. I'm sure. Yeah, Amnon, he'll love that game.
Yeah, and actually, this will probably play perfectly with GTA 4.
GTA that he's playing. Yes.
So, as I'm sure some of you are familiar with, we are newly partnered with Humble Bundle with their affiliate program. So when people buy games from Humble Bundle using our link, we get some kickback, and it's actually a pretty good kickback compared to a lot of these other affiliate services like Amazon and stuff like that. And the way it works is you purchase a game on Humble Bundle, and Humble Bundle kicks us back a portion of that. Now, Brian, I would imagine your copy of Saints Row 2 probably came from the Humble Saints Row bundle.
Humble Bundle pack.
Yes, and this is going on for the next 6 days. And there's a couple of different options here with Saints Row. There's a $1 one, a $6 one, $15, and then a $75 package that comes with a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, now
and this
I want to get your opinion on that $75 package.
It's a new game.
I know that's the thing. It's $75 pre-order. You get your key now though for it. So I mean, it looks like an interesting game. But
if you want to,
surprised it was 75.
It's a $60 game with the other. It's a $60 game with the last tier rolled into it. Because the last tier is 15. So you can get a couple of the Saints Row games, and stuff and some of the Homefront games for $15.
Deadlight, which is a good game.
Yeah. So that's over there. And the way that you can help us out with this is if you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, and click on the Humble Bundle link. You can go in there, click the Humble Bundle link, and then when you navigate to the Humble Bundle site, it'll say, hey, you're with Infection Podcast, and anything you purchase helps us out greatly. And I know a whole bunch of people have been doing it so far. We've been keeping track, so we really do appreciate people supporting us with that. It is a free way to support the show. You're going to be buying the games anyway, so use our link, infectionpodcast.com/support. And on top of that, we've also got, of course, the other different ways that you can help us too. Amazon, similar way to the Humble Bundle. You bookmark the link when you buy stuff on Amazon. It helps us out. Or if you want to donate to us directly, you can do so through PayPal. And another way, Brian, that we don't talk about too often is if you've got a game to give away. Now, this is a reason not to contact me, but to contact Brian. If you have an extra copy of a game or a couple of copies of a game, get in touch with Brian on Discord or email us or whatever, and Brian will get the key from you. Give you a shout out if you want to pimp a website or a Twitch stream or YouTube channel or whatever. We have and will continue to do that. So that's another way that you can help support the show too. Because we used to call Brian's Game Dump. Eventually it's not a
Gotta dry up eventually.
It's not an unlimited resource. So eventually it will be ending. So if you've got a couple of, I don't know, go through your Humble Bundle library. If you've got games that you're never going to redeem, extra copies of games, we'll take them off your hands, and I'm sure we can give them to somebody in the chat that would appreciate having those. So infectionpodcast.com/support. And thanks everybody for supporting the show. Onward, Brian. What's on the slate?
So let's go and jump up to H1Z1 Just Survive on the 26th.
Yeah,
they had
this is a pretty big update
here. Yeah, so, and they always kind of mix in, so hopefully there's nothing that we're repeating here.
I'm sure there is
because
some stuff.
they seem to combine patch notes and they don't exactly break them up by date correctly. But they are changing the stash. We had mentioned that, and that's one reason why I'm saying hopefully we don't repeat anything, but they are making stash changes. The stash is now an embedded safe/lockbox visible to all players, because remember they said they were making it invisible where only you could see your stash. It's visible to all players when they are close to it. It can be destroyed by other players, but will require a concerted effort. So stash usage is limited to owners, and only one stash may be owned at a time. So the bulk capacity is 5,000. And the stash location is marked on the mini map with a shovel icon. This icon will be updated in a future update. So they have reversed. That's a 180 from what they were saying before, because before they had the stashes, and then they said, all right, only stashes are only visible to you. So it was pretty much, just your personal storage area that couldn't be broken into, and now it can. But as they're saying, it takes a lot to be able to get into them. So it should take a decent amount of resources for someone to try to break into that. They fixed an issue where tools did not lose durability during use. So now wrenches will lose durability when repairing. Pickaxes will lose durability when mining, and et cetera, for whatever types of other tools there are. They fixed an issue with tier 0 and tier 1 items spawning in slightly higher quantities than originally intended. So it's resulted in tier 2 items being unavailable. So those tier 0 and tier 1s were kind of taking up all the spawn points. The wrenches no longer spawn in PvE servers to prevent vehicle hoarding. That way you can't repair a vehicle and actually go away at some point. Wood barricades can now be damaged on PvE servers, probably because people are trolling with wood barricades like they always do. Map updated with new locations, loot spawns, collision, and AI navigation. And then pistol bulk updated to 300. And then with strongholds, the stronghold component hitbox increased and resistance is tuned. Stronghold components now regenerate over time when not under attack. Stronghold plot prices have increased to 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, and 10,000. They added stronghold item limit indicators to permissions window. The item class limit of the item currently being built will also be displayed during the building process. They fixed an issue where zombies could walk through stronghold objects, including closed doors. They fixed an issue where players could not place fortifications on their stronghold plots. They added a display to the number of available stronghold plots on the server browser. So that way you don't risk going into a server. Not that they're going to be full, but you never know in the future as they start to kind of clean out the unused areas and make the map just have more vital stronghold locations. Eventually, those may be a really hot commodity. You don't want to go in a server that's pretty much out of their plots for those. They fixed an issue where players could not place fortifications on their stronghold plots. And they fixed an exploit that allowed players to enter a stronghold through the login and log out abuse. So somehow they were logging in and logging out and being able to exploit those strongholds. They fixed an exploit that would allow players to destroy stronghold components without triggering a raid. Fixed an issue where sometimes destruction effects would not display when destroying a stronghold component during a raid. Players can no longer place traps or landmines on opposing plots. Fixed an issue where stronghold stairs could not be built between two walls with an offset doorway. They fixed an issue where stronghold walls could not be built perpendicular to offset doorways. They add a notification that purchasing a stronghold will abandon the previous stronghold, just so you don't accidentally lose. Maybe someone logs in there and doesn't realize you can only have one. They go in there, buy a second one, and then lose everything that they had built before. Players can no longer place traps or landmines on opposing stronghold plots. They fixed an issue where stronghold players or stairs could not be built between two walls with an offset doorway. Let's see, half walls can now be placed on top of the third story of a stronghold. So that must be the limit, 3 stories to these strongholds. I thought they had more than that in their tests, but they must have them at three right now. Torches and candles can now be destroyed with the hammer. They do not return materials used when destroyed. And they fixed an issue with it where the stronghold components destroyed via recursion destruction. This is kind of how the old bases were. And it says the second floor wall that had the first floor wall underneath it destroyed during demolition did not provide materials. So now those things all land on the ground. You can get them back. Stronghold shield duration increased. Fix an issue where punji sticks could be used to exploit through a stronghold wall. The placed objects no longer causes the objects to pulse during placement, which could cause placement errors. Fix an issue where the certain items wouldn't respawn on a stronghold after a raid. Stronghold utilities and stronghold components should all respawn at the end of an attack cycle, and traps do not respawn and must be reset manually by the defenders. So, and then after that, there's additional updates. It's quite a long list of those, so I'm not going to go through all those, but mainly just a lot of fixes and things like that. So, so that's a pretty big patch for them. That was done on the 26th, just this past week. And if you haven't played it, maybe you had a base and you're having issues or something. Seems like they put a lot of stronghold fixes in this week, so maybe you'll not have those issues anymore, and it's worth going in and giving it another try.
Yep. And then there was another update that they did today. It just came out as we were getting ready to go live, so probably about an hour and a half ago. And it's just a quick Just Survive server update. They say they believe they solved the problem with the problem with the proximity voice chat was the voice servers were actually crashing and going down. So they believe they solved the problem with that. But they ask if you do find a problem with that. And I'm dealing with this now with my new job. They say, please let us know what server, what the approximate time and date you noticed it was to help them actually track it down. Because people send an email, the voice servers went down, and it's like, what a useless email. Like, it's just not. Just, no way to troubleshoot it. So, and I think this is just a good rule of thumb for anything. Here's a life lesson from Nick. If you're going to report anything in life to anybody, to any company, to any person, give them details. Because if you don't give them details and you just if you call their phone and you just say, hey, there's this problem, but you don't give me any details, I can't really do anything, and it's going to piss me off. So, quick note, don't do that. give them some valid information. Several fixes for data saving issues that were causing loot and stronghold components to behave erratically or respawn after a raid or server reset. Weapons and tools at 20% durability turn red in the equipment hotbar. Similarly, I don't remember what percentage it was before. I think it was only when they were broken before they would turn red. Now they turn red at 20%, and then they'll be broken at 0%. New improvements to time of day lighting. Fix an issue where the Duke collectors and some other objects could not be placed on the wooden stronghold roof/roof components. So if you were trying to put a Duke collector up on a second story, you'd have a problem with that. Added map icons for your affiliated strongholds. Green stronghold icon, your active attack and defense strongholds. Red icons with swords and shields. And then the shielded stronghold is a blue icon to the map. So at least now, if you are away from the base, you can at least see what's going on at your stronghold without having to have somebody there, sounding the alarm that you're being raided or whatever. Now that at least you can see that on the map, and they've kind of got that functionality in there, Brian. How much harder is it now to get a push alert, to get a push notification that, hey, your base was raided, it's being rebuilt. You've got an hour and a half to log in, while things are being rebuilt. Because now that they're keeping track of that status and they're pushing it out to the game, I'm telling you, folks, ARK, H1Z1, somebody give me a push notification for my damn base. So simple. So
I
simple.
wonder if ARK is going to have it in this update, because I mean they put the functionality out there, right?
Yeah.
I'm just curious if that's going to be something that they polished and perhaps will be in the actual release. Maybe they'll be the first ones, but we'll see.
Yeah, one could hope. Because I mean, hell, just give me an API to use. I mean, I wrote some like a script that worked with IF T, but there was just no way to configure it for different clans. It was server wide, so
Yeah, it would do it for everybody.
yeah,
Every clan on the server.
very inefficient if you're playing on a large server with many clans, as you know, your phone would be blowing up 24 hours a day. So other than that, a couple of other things in here, just a lot of fixes with things. Increase the yield of the gunpowder recipe, fix additional issues with duplicated weapons showing, just stuff like that. And again, as they still say, if you have problems, this is when they say, when you want to report an issue, copy and paste this template. Summary, which is a brief sentence, reproduction steps, you know, what did you do to get to the bug? What did you do to get to the issue? Expected outcome, what did you believe should have happened when you did those steps, and then the actual outcome of what happened. So, you know, and then they ask for the in-game location if it requires that as well. Don't be lazy. Here's the thing. If you're going to be lazy with a report, don't report it at all. Just don't waste their time. If you're going to report, go the extra step, record it in a video, take a screenshot, get your locations, do something. Don't just say base doesn't work. Or, you know, just some just some boneheaded comment like that. So that's H1Z1 just survived. They're working. They're just This is kind of my frustration with it. If I had to say there was one thing that frustrated me with the update you read, they spent, it seems like, way too much time on the stashes, which nobody ever is going to use once they get yeah, exactly. Once they get a base, once they get a little bit established. The stashes are useless, completely useless. They may be useful for the first day.
I'm wondering if they're trying to kind of cater to that individual player who's out there, who doesn't have. I mean, you know, because these strongholds are really just for, since they don't really have the little shacks and all that anymore.
Yeah,
and the strongholds are for larger groups.
True. Well, yeah, exactly.
So they're trying to figure out, like, well, how do we cater to also to these individual players that are running around that don't have anything?
Yeah. So that there was something that kind of frustrated me with that, it would probably be. It seems like they've spent a lot of time reworking, and implementing that stash system. Yeah. But again, that's because my playstyle doesn't require it, and now somebody else's probably does, and I'm sure they're excited about it. So, and just a quick note: we were talking earlier about ARK's subreddit versus H1Z1 subreddit. This is a Daybreak post done by H1Z1 Michael. It was posted on the 27th of July. And it only has 71% upvotes. It's got 28 votes and only 12 points on Reddit, which is not very good. I'm just saying, folks. This is just the way it has 12 points. It's official patch notes from the developer. It's got 12 points on Reddit. When we post on a subreddit that we're gonna have an interview with the developer on our show, we get 20, 30, 40 points. They're getting 12 on patch notes. It's not Stairway. Fix that. I don't know what's going. You got to build a bot that'll upvote those posts.
Yeah, give them automatic votes. Build the hype.
Yeah, seriously, man. It's like you look at this and you go, "Oh, really? 12 points on the Reddit? It's not very good."
How many people are still? I mean, that's the thing, is they've got a long way ahead of them to be able to get the player base back.
Yeah, and
it's going to be constant. You know, it's going to be constant battle for them, because just more and more games that are going to compete with them are coming out. It's not gonna. It's unless they come out with something that's pretty groundbreaking, they're gonna have a really tough time bringing all those people back.
Absolutely.
Now, King of the Kill, they put out a patch here on the 28th. It doesn't have a huge amount of things, but they fixed some bugs. They said we were able to identify one issue causing client frame rate hitches. This has been fixed. Stream Deck and similar devices should function properly again. Fixed a rare client crash that could occur when simultaneously reloading and shooting. Hit reg improvements. Player hitboxes have been slightly adjusted to provide more consistent hit feedback. Neck shots are now critical hits to more clearly separate headshots from body shots. Reduced idle head bob animation for more consistent hit registration against stationary targets. Loot bag projectile collision has been removed so that they will no longer block shots. So someone can't hide behind a loot bag anymore. Fixed shots being incorrectly blocked by collision when the target is up against a wall. And then quality of life changes. They removed a few gas ring endpoints that were on the extreme edges of the map, creating unfavorable end game scenarios.
Perfect.
So,
those
are the 128 patches.
And that's because probably about a month or so ago, they introduced their new, I guess you'd almost call it AI for figuring out where the zone is going to be. And I'm sure there were some spots where it was like, oh, what the hell? There's like it's all like high point mountains that you can't even get onto. And Battlegrounds has still got some tweaking they've got to do with that, because there's a couple of those end zone locations that are like just impossible to do anything with. And it just doesn't make for a good. And I get it's like, oh, I like that it's tough. It's not really. Like, one person has the advantage and everybody else is just kind of wide open in a field. Like, it's just not really a good spot for the game to end.
One thing I always don't like is when it ends up on the island and you have that choke point, but you got to think game wise, like that's great.
It is, absolutely.
I mean, that's great for gameplay, but I always hate it. It's like, oh, it's on the island. I got to get past the bridge. Oh,
yeah. But then
it's not like that. These are ones where it's like, it's in the middle of just an open field and everybody's crawling around, which can be fun. I mean, there are some weird spots where most of it's water.
And I don't mind. Most of its water is a problem. And then the other one, when it's in an open field, doesn't really bother me. I just wish there was a less likely chance of that happening. I don't want that completely removed from the game, but I don't want 30,
sometimes it's fun to have that. We don't want it every other time.
40% of the games I play are opening in just an open field where there's like a single shack, and it's like, well, what the hell am I supposed to do here? Like, I stand up, I'm dead. Like, it's just not. It just doesn't make a good end game unless you're, of course, sitting in the shack. So I wish those just maybe a little bit lower chance of those, like a preferred zone, like preferred zones, like kind of in the outskirts of a city where there's some buildings and some trees and stuff. And H1Z1, of course, has been working on that as well. So cool stuff.
All right. So I wasn't sure. The Long Dark, this is a visual novel. It kind of tells a story. I don't know if you want to play because it's like 5 minutes.
I would say probably.
Pretty cool, but
do you want to talk over a couple minutes?
The show notes either way.
Do you want to talk over a couple, like just a short bit?
Well, I mean, it's the main thing is the talking in it.
Okay. Maybe towards the end of the show, depending on how we're doing on time.
Okay, we'll see how much time we have.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to announce is that they did release. Remember on the 1st, which is today, they were releasing Wintermute, the actual official release of the Long Dark. So it's the season 1 Wintermute. So there is now kind of a single player story mode that you can do. And I played some of the beginning of it and I died immediately just because I couldn't figure out, like, they've changed something and I couldn't figure out how to build a fire. And I was in a hurry before the show, but
you literally launched it like 5 minutes before the show started.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was playing for a little bit and I'm like, I picked up stuff to make a fire and I couldn't figure out how to start a fire. And I'm just like, this is
not working.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
So, so I've got to go through and maybe watch the notifications that are popping up because it probably told me and I just missed it. So yeah, so we will,
maybe we can play a couple minutes.
We'll try to get and give a report next week. But yeah, so if we have some time, we can play that, but it's a pretty good, it's an interesting story and it tells a little bit of the story of what happened that you'd have to probably dig into a little bit more. And this is based on the lore of the Long Dark. So I guess the story that you're going to see in the single player will probably tell a lot of the story that you haven't seen, because originally in the alpha, when you were playing the Long Dark, it pretty much just is something happened. You're out in the middle of nowhere. It's really cold. You have to stay alive and, stay warm and find food. That was kind of the extent of the story. But I think now they're actually going to go through and tell a story of you having different things happen and kind of go through a whole story. So that'll be fun to start to play. And then Miscreated came out with a decent sized patch.
And that was our game of the week last week, which unfortunately I was unable to attend. I know.
Yeah, I was in a family event as well, so
I know a couple.
We had about 5 or 6 people playing it, I think.
Well, cool. Hopefully they enjoyed it. We'll do that.
So this was on the 26th. Yeah, this is 26 update 51. So servers, they added the ability to kick someone based on their Steam ID.
Yep.
They improved method-based building parts. It says improved method-based building parts are sent to clients should fix some common base building issues. They fixed a continual server crash on servers with a lot of farm animals. So for some reason, probably all the AI running at once was causing a server crash. And they fixed the Kythera crash when game is located in a path with some Unicode characters. That's more of just on the server side or on the client side. Actually, it's probably on the client side. So if you have special characters in the path name, it would crash. They fixed an issue where some network messages from the server may be missed while logging into the game. Actionable menu won't appear when the weapon is raised around bushes. They disabled the lean, jump, and reloading during usage of a scope. The world action may randomly determine which item is found now. So world actions may randomly determine. So that's interesting. So things that you do may determine what you find. So it's not totally random loot anymore. Item durability is now saved and restored when logging back in. Military spawn locations have been added. They adjusted the police spawn locations so it won't spawn military gear. So most won't spawn military gear in the police stations. The scopes now work on many of the existing weapons, so you can add scopes to a lot of the weapons that didn't before. More world actions added. And then lights will now turn off when a generator runs out of fuel or an item being removed from it. So like if you remove the spark plug or something. Items now can be stored in the belt slot can no longer be stored in secondary slots. Added a recipe to convert the old sniper scope to a new hunting scope, as the former is no longer supported on the M40A5 weapon. Base building, they remove texture color change when base parts are damaged to see if it eliminates a common crash. Only showed the upgrade part action if the player has the required upgrade part in their inventory. In the UI, they fixed the brightness, tessellation, and view distance video options. Updated the look of the chat window to match the new overall theme. They added binoculars, police vest, flak vests, Chris vector, smoke grenade traps, craftable bow, craftable arrows. They've added new scarf variations, and it says also colors can be crafted. Many sneaker variations have been added. Increased laser attachment accuracy. Adjusted recoil on the AKM. They fixed a headlight lamp not working. They decreased weight of the gnomes. So I guess you can carry a gnome even if you're pretty close to weight capacity now. Increased damage on the 12 gauge slugs. Decreased the katana's weight. The damage caused by the bear trap is slightly increased. They adjusted the weights of most magazines. Bows should now display the correct arrow depending on which magazine is equipped. And they added craftable bow recipe. So on the map, they've updated the Orca Dam area, includes more detail and more item spawns. They added a new player spawn location north of Brightmoor on the East Coast. They updated broken down pickup trucks with newer models. The fixed radiation zone going over road near Center Hills, and they updated the lighting in the sewers and in the hotel. With audio, they've adjusted the sedan sounds inside the cabin, and they balanced the volume of the footsteps on varying surfaces, and they balanced the volume of projectile weapons. The animations, and that's something I've kind of said they need to work on, and they've got a lot of animation fixes. So I'm wondering if they've either brought on somebody new or made it a priority. The Chris V animation created and set up. The scope animations were added for the AT-15, the Mod 16, the MK-18, the M40A5, the Carlington, the Renegade, and the hunting rifle. The firing animations and setup altered to work with scopes. Iron sight strafing, movement, looping error corrected. The dedicated animation for the M16 and MK-18 firing has been added. Weapon animations added to the firing of the AT-15, MK-18, and M16. So the casing extractor movement has been added. Tranquilizer reload animation fixed so darts enter the barrel correctly. Left-hand polish in the MK-18 aim poses. Crafted bow and recurve bow now correctly display the type of arrow being used, so whether it's aluminum or wood. The binocular animation has been added since that's a new item. Alterations to the base movement animations, like so transitions don't cause weapon to go too close to the character's face. So I think it's like no weapon and weapon. Swimming, search, self animation added. Improvement to self or left-hand search animation to stop issues when dropping active weapon whilst in your inventory. They remove some speed sliding whilst crouching, alter transitions between crouching and standing stances to be smoother. Flak vest skin to male and female character. The skins vest skin to male and female character, or police vest, sorry, skin to male and female character. Re-exported the weapons for scopes, rail alterations to work with scopes, addition of rails to weapons without them that need them. And they altered on-ground models for certain weapons so that they sit correctly on players when stowed. Mutant idle sounds were added. And then whistle stimulus option changed so AI should react to it. And then improvements to drinking and eating animations. 556, so the 100 capacity 556 magazines now animate during reloading, and then the new chambered reload animation has been added to the MK18. So that's a pretty decent sized patch, and that was patch number 51 for Miscreated. That came out on the 26th.
Yes, and we actually forgot to roll for our giveaway here, Brian.
All right, I will go ahead and roll for it now. All right, so Hovercats won.
Congratulations.
Yep.
We'll be doing another one.
Congratulations on that. I will send you a link to it, so look in your other messages.
We'll be doing another one of those here. Since we announced about half an hour ago, we'll do another one here in about 10 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, pretty decent Miscreated update. Do you want to roll into the Rust dev blog and then come back and do hit a couple games real quick?
Yeah, so if you want to do the video on that, and then we'll come back.
Yeah. So this week we've got a Rust update. Nothing. There's some interesting stuff in this update. Some of the things that we've talked about in the past. So here is the Rust update, of course, brought to you by Shadowfrax each and every week. So roll the update, and then we'll be right back.
Greetings, survivors and friends, Shadowfrax here, and welcome to the thing I do every week that means you don't have to read the Rust dev blog, because reading is evil. Anyway, in Rust we spend a lot of our time hitting things, mainly other players, but quite often nodes. This is necessary, part of life on the island, but what if there was a way to speed the process up and have a bit of fun at the same time? Well, this is exactly what Helk was thinking when he introduced this week's big new mechanic, a minigame, which from now on I'll be referring to as Whack-A-Node. This is how it currently works. So during the day, or at night if you shine a light on them, nearby nodes will have a small bright spot visible. Hitting this will yield 150% more resources than anywhere else. The hotspot will then move to another location, and every successive one you hit will increase your yield up to a maximum of 300% per strike. If you miss, the bonus resets to 0. A couple of things to note here: you won't actually get more out of a node overall by doing this, but it does mean that if you're willing to put the effort in, you'll harvest them a lot faster, and that's the main point. Secondly, this is only a first iteration of the system, so visuals and maybe other aspects will change over time. Helk says that moving forward, he plans to maybe add these hotspots to other areas, such as cave walls, instead of the nodes you find in them. It might also be that as an ore is mined, multiple hotspots appear, and there could even be an upgrade to the finishing bonus depending on how well you do. This system isn't exclusive to Rust. I have seen it in other games, and I must say I quite enjoy it. But what do you think of the concept? Let me know in the comments. If you watched last week's episode, you'll also know that nodes are soon to become a lot sexier, with new models that are much easier to tell apart, and these should be dropping in the forced wipe next week. Also, like the big lumpy things they are, they'll convincingly flatten and displace grass around them, which incidentally is set to become 10% shorter too. Not only that, but after many requests from the community, this week campfires now finally push the turf sideways. Rejoice! In other changes, there was a minor balance to semi-auto pistol costs. You don't need a spring to craft one now, and they only take 8 high qual instead of 15. Will we start seeing more of them again? We shall have to wait and see. Gary was busy this week fiddling around and improving various informational aspects of the game. For instance, Rust has never tried to hold your hand, more like chop it off, but seriously, there hasn't been any sort of in-game tutorial yet, and players are more or less left to figure everything out themselves, which which can lead to some interesting situations. Well, this is all about to change, and you'll start noticing a couple of hints popping up, at least until you've done the recommended action a few times. This is limited to opening menus right now, but the aim is to eventually teach new players all the basics, and indeed this was stated by Gary in his recent blog post, The Curse of Early Access, as being one of the things that needs to be added before Rust slips quietly out of that phase. There were a couple of changes in the main menu too this week that will help players both start and end games. Firstly, there's a new button to take you to the server search tab, as apparently the Rust logo wasn't intuitive enough. Also, because sometimes accidents do happen, you'll now finally be asked for confirmation of whether you actually want to exit the game altogether. But then, why would you? Lastly, quite a few of the descriptions of items and such have been cacked up for a while, but Gary is gradually working his way through these, which should allow many of you to sleep soundly at night once again. In performance, there were some skin cache optimizations which focused on resolving a bottleneck that affected lower-end machines. These issues could cause some rather savage frame drops for some of you, but hopefully this should now be resolved. There was a fix for the dreaded EAC disconnected error too, which has bothered some players for a while now. All being well, this should be dead, but as always, if you encounter any issues or bugs, press F7 and report them to the team. Also, it is with much sadness that I have to announce the death of DirectX 9 support in Rust. The launch option was removed this week, but as Unity is planning to drop DX9 soon anyway, this isn't something that can be put off for long. If you're having issues running the game in DX11, then I'd recommend reading the section about it in this week's dev blog, as there are a couple of suggestions there to help you out. Over to works in progress, and although Helk's taken a break from working on the Bradley in order to bash out some other more important mechanics, he hopes to have him working and in-game for next week's update. Meanwhile, some convincing sounds for the engine are being stitched together, so he'll be able to tell if he's just idly trundling around or accelerating in your direction. A new loot systems being looked at that could see barrels in rad towns being replaced with visual representations of loot on shelves, desks, pallets, and in lockers, for example. This will bring looting more in line with other games in the genre and means that you won't be forced to use the inventory screen to yoink stuff anymore. More on this when I have it. A lot of behind-the-scenes work on AI has been taking place, with particular emphasis on the new scientists being able to identify and use cover dynamically. This is easy in rad towns where the layout is fixed, but at some point they'll be able to read any environment and maybe even outsmart you. If you're an admin and want to test them out, you can now with Spawn Scientist in console, although be warned, they're not perfect. Remember the incredibly handsome variations to character models I showed you recently? Well, that's still ongoing, and here are some of the latest mugs to come out of it. There's obviously still a lot of work to do, such as tidying up those neck seams and adding more faces and races, but it's getting close now, and you'll soon be waking up as an even more special and unique snowflake. Or cornflake, maybe. There was an intriguing post on the dev blog this week, and I don't want to jump the gun here, but work seems to have started on another backpack, and I don't think from what I can tell that this is related to the one that drops on the floor when a corpse despawns. Apparently it's going to be smaller and made from rubbish materials, much like this old concept, and really I haven't been able to find out much more beyond that. I'm sure as time goes on, everything will become clear as mud, and when that happens, I will of course let you know. Lastly, you might have seen a video from me recently discussing icebergs and what happened to them. Well, lo and behold, it seems that they are on the move once more. And yet, it would seem that Rust on ice could once again be a thing. Let me know please what you thought to this update. Leave a like and hoof that sub button if you'd be so kind. I appreciate your support. Pop over and visit me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook and the Steam group, and I shall catch you all soon. But in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
Alrighty, and of course, as always, we thank Shadowfrax for that update. This is interesting. There was a thing, and I actually read that same blog post you were talking about. Gary was talking about the I guess you call them tool tips, the help tips in the game. That is something that a lot of early access games really, really miss on. And, you know, okay, I guess I'll just say, I mean, I think most of the people in our group are pretty competent when playing. I mean, we're enthusiasts. I mean, if you're watching this show, you're probably an enthusiast of early access survival games. It comes with the territory. But for people that are just getting into the genre, just getting into the gaming realm, especially with a game like Rust, you really don't have a freaking clue what to do. The game is just, I mean, he showed the example of somebody using like some wooden club to try to hit a tree and it doesn't do any damage. because it's just stuff that just doesn't make sense. So, I like that. I like those little tooltips.
It seems like they're trying to make it a little more noob friendly,
which I think is good.
And trying to distract everyone to maybe go kill NPCs or do other things beyond just hunt down all the fresh spawns they can find in the game.
And obviously the inclination from his post is, well, eventually this, sooner rather than later, this game is going to move out of early access. And I mean, part of having a full featured released game is having a tooltip, help tip,
sort of a tutorial
system.
Yeah.
It's just if you're writing a program that's complex, you need to have one. Or if you're writing a game, it's the same way. You have to have a program like that to help people along. So, that's what I took out of the update. So, there you go.
Done. All right, so do we want to just jump onto that interview that we're going to be doing, like talking about that a little bit?
If you go ahead, I didn't know if we were going to talk about that. The floor is yours, Brian.
Yeah. So right now we lined up to have an interview. It's going to be an off-air interview that we'll be showing during next week's show, but with the lead developer of Dead Matter, and that's a Kickstarter project that we've talked a little bit about. It's done in 15 days. So that's what we wanted to get. This is going to be an initial shorter interview just to learn more about the game, a little bit about the game. And then we'll be having him back since it is kickstarted, it's a guaranteed thing. We'll be having him back here, in however many months, even if it's like 6 months or something, when they're closer to having their initial content release, to discuss the progress of the game and things like that. But we'll be doing an interview with him this Saturday off air. We'll have it all prepped and we'll play that on the upcoming episode. But this is Dead Matter. So far, they're at over $134, $691 US, and they're based out of Canada. But this is going to be a kind of a zombie style survival game. It looks like a pretty interesting concept. I've kickstarted it. I don't know if you have, Nick.
I've not.
But it's got 14 days. It looks like it just switched. 14 days to go on this before it expires.
And I do kind of want to describe this concept a little bit. I don't know we've got about 20 minutes left here, so we'll cut to the chase with some of this news. But okay, Brian, this is gonna sound a little weird, and it's gonna sound like I'm bragging, and I'm not trying to. I don't want to. I'm not trying to, but that's how it's going to sound. We've got a group of people now that fit the genre of game like this, and we believe it would be beneficial to promote, using our platform, some of these new games. And again, I haven't played this game. Nobody's played it. This could be a flop for all we know. We have absolutely no clue. Well, we see this game on Kickstarter. People have asked us to talk about it, and Brian got in touch with the developer, and he's willing to do an interview. So what we're going to try to do is use our platform here to maybe help prop up some of these new early access games, and with the knowledge that just because we're talking about this game doesn't mean that we think it's going to be a success. Doesn't mean it could very well flop. It's not an endorsement. It's just hey, this is something you could check out. It's on Kickstarter if you want to back it, and kind of use our platform to help. Obviously this guy doesn't need any help. He's got 100 and something. If anything, we could use a little help from this guy. $100 and something thousand on Kickstarter. But just kind of use this show maybe once a month, once every 2 months, to highlight a game that is not out yet and talk about the idea. It'll be a short interview, 20, 25 minutes, just to kind of get an introduction of what is the game, what is it about, and really it's a sales pitch. Why should you, the listener, and pitching to Brian and myself, why should you purchase my game now when you see nothing? Why should I buy your game? Which is what I like.
And that's one thing that I sent him saying, that's what we want to know, is like, what sets your game apart?
Yeah, why buy?
What would be the reason? Because we're always looking through and trying to find, like, what's a good game for our community? What makes your game special? What are we going to benefit out of backing it now? Because you've seen a lot of Kickstarters to where there's some that really paid off, and there's some that haven't.
Yeah, I mean, why should I spend
find those ones that are good?
Why should I spend $25 on your game and not go buy something off Steam that's out right now that I can get for $25? And if I hate to say it, but if a developer can't answer that question, it's probably not worth buying their game. because it's a valid question. Why? And you see it every single time that we have a developer on the show. All the time I ask them at the end. I always ask this question. I played your game day one. It sucked. I hated it. I hate you. Tell me why I should come play your game now. And if you can't get a decent answer for that, in my opinion, it's probably not it's probably not going in a good direction, unfortunately. Because like, for example, if you're asking me why I should listen to this podcast, I'd tell you there's not a reason in the world that you should be listening to this right now. There are definitely
no false promises.
There's definitely better things you could be doing with your time. So we're gonna try to do these.
If you're asking that question, you should be doing something else.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have to ponder that. So if you see an early access game, I've got a couple that I'm following on my radar. I'm sure Brian's following a couple as well. Maybe you have a contact with an early access developer that's in our genre. Put them in touch with us. We're going to try to schedule these for one every month, one every 2 months, depending on how they go, how they're received, and how people are liking them. So look forward to that next week, a little short 20, 25-minute segment. We may open the show with it, maybe kind of more in the middle. But next week, look forward to that. And that's Dead Matter. You can check it out now. And yeah, I look forward to do it. We got to come up with a name for this, but this will be a first installment of a little series here on Infection. So
if you have a name suggestion,
yeah, your contact.
Feel free to send it. contact@infectionpodcast.com. Save us the work of trying to figure out something clever.
Yeah. And then you know what I'll do? I'll end up messaging PH like Tuesday morning, be like, "Hey man, can you make a graphic for? I don't know what I want it to be called. Can you throw together a graphic
just make it to where you put whatever in there."
So we'll give it a try. We'll see if it works, and I look forward to it. So, Brian, what do you want to jump to now? We got about 15 minutes. What are you thinking?
So let's just cover a couple things that I'm just going to mention some things that are going to be in our show notes for people to check out. There's a launch trailer for Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah, I'll show that just while you're talking.
Video for. Sure. And this is a game that's it's out of Russia. Graphics wise, we were doing a comparison saying, hey, this compared to even a game like Battlegrounds, like they've really gone in and taken the time to tweak the lighting to give a really good looking environment. It'll be interesting to see how it plays. This isn't 100 players versus, it's not a 100-player map. I think it's less than that if I remember correctly. But they've done a really good job of getting the lighting and just the whole environment to really stand out and look good. And so that they put that release trailer in here. So you're more than welcome to click on our show notes and you'll be able to see that. But this should be coming out. They're releasing to where it'll be into, I guess an open beta here pretty soon. Where people actually be able to get into the beta. I think it's been closed up to this point.
I think you're right. I think it's been closed up to this point. Yeah.
Another one that we have a video that's a showcase for Survive the Nights. Yes. And that's one of the people that I'm hoping to get an interview with that. I'll probably reach out to them next.
Yeah, this is a long video.
This is a long one. We're not going to play it right now, but he's showing a lot of things that they've been working on. And hopefully we'll get I'll reach out. We haven't reached out to Survive the Nights yet. I'm going to reach out to them as one of the next ones, and we'll see if they respond. To come and do an interview talking about that product now that it's getting closer to having something that's actually released.
Yep.
So you can check that out. It's another thing where they've done a good job. This is an Unreal Engine, if I remember correctly, product, and they've done a good job of putting in a nice environment. And that's something I always appreciate because you see a lot of games to where it just doesn't, like, everything looks kind of. I mean, if you could look at 7 Days to Die, for instance. Not the best environment.
Terrible
right?
environment.
Really fun mechanic, but if you're going for a game that looks beautiful, that's not the game to start out on.
It looks like you drew on a piece of construction paper.
Yes. And PH is making a comment on Survive the Nights. They have a trailer out, but this is kind of the things that they didn't put in the trailer and just kind of going beyond that and giving you more information of some things that they're working on.
Now, I do want to
kind of a more in-depth one.
I do want to note part of this trailer. Crap, I'm trying to see if I can find it. There's a part, and I kind of wanted to get your opinion on this, Brian. I can't seem to find it. He talks about it in part of this trailer. I think it might be coming up right here. It's right here. It's talking about this brush. And this is something that I think the Forest has it, but I can't think of another one off the top of my head that we cover that has this. He, the developer, was talking about how he got lost in this brush and couldn't figure out where he was. And that's something interesting that a lot of these games I think could benefit from. Not Battlegrounds, not King of the Kill, but games where there's a large brush that you get lost in, which is literally what would happen if you started running through the woods. You would eventually get lost if the brush was thick enough. You'd lose your sense of direction and you'd just be stuck in the middle of a forest. So that's I really like that.
Issue. So the reason that you generally don't see those type of things is because in game development, trees are horrible, and plants and things like that, because like vertices and triangles, the amount of sides and things that it has to show to make a realistic looking tree.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think like a wall, that can be a square, and they can do some tricks to give it some depth and to give it wear and round the corners and do things like that. But a tree, on the other hand, or brush, there's tons of sides to it.
Absolutely.
And so throwing a bunch of those into the environment can create a lot of frame reduction.
Gotcha.
Can create a lot of issues. So for them to do it, if they really have to sit there and optimize. I mean, when we see in like Battlegrounds or these different games saying we optimized grass, usually what they're doing is lowering the number of vertices that are in the grass, the amount of detail,
mm-hmm.
while still trying to make it look good. So that's one thing that they really have to be careful of, and that's why you generally don't see a ton of these things everywhere. Usually they're really sparse with those type of things because it just has so much detail in those objects. But if they can get it right, as you saw in that, it was really good.
Yeah,
like
very
it
good.
Really helped with the feel, and that's one thing. If they spend some time with that foliage, they spend some time with that brush, like you can get a really good feeling out of it without having your game go at 10 frames per second. So
of course,
and so far, like watching that preview, it didn't look like all of a sudden he was going at a crazy slower speed when he went through the brush. They seem to have done a really good job on it.
Yeah, I appreciate your explanation on that, because I'm sure most people just assume like, oh, it's just like adding a building.
People say, why don't they throw that in there? I mean,
I just said that.
It
literally
kills performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
stuff you don't even think about. So cool, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So do we want to do at least announce the next game giveaway just so we're ready? I'm going to reopen this one, and that'll give us some time before the end of the show, because who knows much longer we'll have to do this. So it'll be exclamation point giveaway again, and this will be another 30 points raffle, which just means you have to have been watching the show for 30 minutes to be able to enter, which most people have. And this is going to be Saints Row the Third. So we just did Saints Row 2.
It's a biggie.
So we'll be giving away a copy of Saints Row the Third, and this is a pretty fun, lighthearted game series. So there we'll probably have 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will roll for that.
Yeah, this is a big one.
Exclamation point giveaway.
This is a great game. Saints Row.
And there's a lot of content to it. It's recent, very positive, overall, overwhelmingly positive, which you don't see very often in games on Steam.
Yeah, Saints Row is a freaking awesome franchise. Big fan.
All right, so and then Unturned put out a patch. I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, I'll just touch on a couple. There's just a couple highlights in there. One that I thought was really interesting, Brian, added dynamic snowstorms. I'm a huge weather nerd.
Oh, that's cool.
You've seen those tornadoes, like the weather in Miscreated is fascinating.
When we were playing Miscreated, a dev spawned in a tornado for us.
Yeah, and that was cool to see. Even just the rain particles on ledges and on the concrete was and again, Unturned isn't like this, as people always say, it's Minecraft or Legos. But dynamic. But a snowstorm is one thing. H1Z1 did snow, and it was just everything's got a little white. Everything's got powdered sugar on it. It's essentially what it looked like. A dynamic snowstorm with the options in the map to configure for blizzard, frequency, duration, and ambience volume. That's big. A dynamic snowstorm. I mean, it could be to the point where it is snowing so hard in the game that you can't see. And like I'm from the Northeast. that really happens. Like we had a snowstorm last year.
Yeah.
We got 27 inches of snow in like 12 something hours. It's literally a blizzard. You cannot, if you go out to drive your car, you will most likely either kill yourself or kill somebody else because you cannot see what's in front of you. And that's cool. And a lot of games don't do dynamic weather. It's just like rain on, rain off, snow on, snow off, sunny, cloudy. It's just they're just toggles on or off. So that's really cool. And then some more weather commands. That's kind of the big thing with this. Because not many games do dynamic weather with options. I mean, an option to control the frequency and the duration, that's not very common. So even though the game's not the highest looking, I'll just make a game. It's just weather. It's called Weather by
Weather Simulator
by Nick Craig. Brian, can you help me out with that? Make a little make a little game. I'll throw it on.
We could have that thing. We could have that thing out in a couple months.
We should do it. I think that'd be fun. Just the Weather Simulator.
You just stand there. You can sit on your porch in a rocking chair, and then there's the weather's going by.
Your clothes. Yeah, we gotta get a crate key system where you have to buy pants and stuff for when it's cold out.
And maybe your cane will change, like
in VR.
You can have a lemonade or a beer, like it changes out what your drink is.
You better be careful.
Yeah, VR version.
I may buy some of those game development books and start making myself a little weather simulator. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's the easier part. So
Firebomb buy for $1
when you're ready.
Yeah.
That's just got to make it to where we could sell. I don't know how many people are going to buy weather. That's the thing is you look at like Goat Simulator, these ones that are
YouTube is what sells them.
Poorly made.
Yeah, that's what's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you get something that's ridiculous, you got to make it just kind of where it's halfway broken, so that people have fun with the fact that it's broken.
Yeah.
Like remember that Surgeon Simulator one?
Oh, that game's my favorite. Where you're just like destroying the person and cutting them, and
it's like you can hardly control your hands.
Yeah. Oh, and Joe's talking about beach DLC and like different areas, paid DLC. Brian, we need to have an off-air conversation. This sounds like retirement status stuff right here.
People will be knocking on our doors to go. They get an interview regarding our weather simulator.
Yeah, the National Weather Service, the federal government will purchase it for their for NOAA. It'll be great. Multimillionaires from podcasters.
So what would happen if if the wind rate went up to this? Well, I don't know, guys. We better run it through the weather simulator.
Weather.exe has crashed. Yeah, it's good. I can only look. I can only imagine. Joe, you'd back it. I might actually seriously do something like that. I've got a whole bunch of free time on my hands now, so make a little game and prove.
I'll teach Nick how to make some weather in there, and he'll be going crazy.
I'll be a real game developer. So now, when I make fun of game developers, people be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Be like hell, I don't know what I'm talking about. I made a game.
Have you seen Weather Simulator?
Yeah, it's top-rated. Infection Podcast's top-rated game of 2017. Clearly, you haven't heard about it. So, if anybody would like to help me make Weather Simulator, contact me, nick@infectionpodcast.com. I'm dead serious. I'm being as Brian. I'm being as dead serious right now as ever. I want to make
Nick
a game that's just weather
Simulator.
Contact. Don't steal my idea, you SOBs. Someone
will have it out on Kickstarter in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. It's a real problem. Thanks, Firebomb. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, that about wasted up all of our time. Anything else you want to jump, or do you want to
just remember Overwatch for Game of the Week? I don't think we really need to cover anything else. Islands of Nine came out with their Alpha 11 patch. That's generally a closed one, so we won't go into that, but they are improving that game, and it should be to a point where maybe they'll release, because it's been a Kickstarter game. I had Kickstarted it, and that's why I have access to it.
Gotcha.
But I'm hoping that they'll eventually have it to where maybe people can buy copies and get into the alpha. Cool. And they have been giving away some copies here recently on stream. So I know Deacon won a copy of that.
Oh, cool.
The Black Death also came out with an update version .17 where they added relics into the game. And so maybe we'll cover that next week because it's a pretty long set of patch notes. So.
Gotcha. And there's a couple things pretty much every week now. Brian throws in games here, like for example, the games that are kickstarted, games that not everybody has access to. For example, the Darwin project, they're doing updates from time to time, but not everybody has access to it, so we cover it when it's important. Most of the time, though, those things are in our show notes. Because Brian does a bang-up job with the show notes. Brian literally does all of the prep for the show. Let me tell you, if Brian didn't do the prep for the show would just be every week. So
let's play some music.
Yeah, let's get a YouTube copyright strike. So with he does a hell of a job with these show notes, but obviously we don't cover everything because it's some of the stuff's just not relevant because nobody has access to it. But it's in the show notes, infectionpodcast.com. Full show notes available, and actually in the next couple of weeks, we're gonna have full transcripts of the show available. So if you want to, I don't know, maybe you want to just go through and read every word that we said, you can do that.
Or you'll be able to search
for
maybe
stuff.
See at what point we were talking about something.
Yeah. So, and I've also looked at doing some type of kind of like a topic system. Trying to find a way, it's kind of like a streamlined way to do that. So we're working on some of those things. Infectionpodcast.com if you want to help with any, like maybe if anybody's got any experience with like automatic or somewhat automatic timestamping systems for YouTube, let me know, because I'm interested in doing something like that for people that just want to hear about Miscreated or just want to hear about this or just want to hear about that. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good. All right. Do we want to go into current players?
Yes, of course.
We need to cover before?
No, I've got current players. I mean, what do I just actually? Well, I mean, I've done current players. It didn't work. Okay, so that didn't break with the move. So current players is where we go through and look at who's currently playing what games. And this week, starting it off, let's see if I start my music. There we go. Starting it off this week, H1Z1. This is King of the Kill. Currently playing this. 32,754, the 24-hour peak, 138,458, with a 7-day peak of the same, 138,458. ARK, Survival Evolved. Player numbers going down on this a little bit as they get towards their launch. They're currently playing at 30,980, the 24-hour peak, 45,871, and the 7-day peak, 55,141. 7 days to die, they're still holding over some players from their new update, currently playing at 13,963, 24-hour peak 18,731 with a 7-day peak of 24,859. And Brian, Player Unknown's Battlegrounds, knocking it out of the park as they do each and every week, currently playing at 181,867, the 24-hour peak almost 500,000 with this, just the 24-hour peak, 479,439, and the 7-day peak less than 20,000 shy of 500,000 concurrent players, 481,304. Brian, this game is absolutely insane.
I'd be surprised if next week it wasn't at the 500,000.
So last week we were actually a day early, but when we did this last week, they had currently playing the game last week, the day before, 422,000. So they gained approximately 60,000 concurrent players from the last, just about 60, a little under 60,000 from last time. So, I mean,
that's crazy.
They have,
they've got to be a 500,000 next week.
Within the next 2 weeks.
Rate.
Yeah, because some weeks it's slower, like 10 or 15,000, but within the next 2 weeks, they will be at 500,000 concurrent players. And actually, speaking of Battlegrounds, I do want to give a shout out again to our good buddy from the Hot Drop podcast. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago. You can follow him on Twitter at Hot Drop Podcast, and it's a weekly. It's kind of like a short little series. It's about 25 to 30 minutes about PlayerUnknown Battleground. Friend of the show.
He really goes into depth.
Yes, exactly. It's the Battleground podcast. So if you want to check that out, it's at Hot Drop Podcast on Twitter, and he's got a link to his YouTube channel and stuff like that. So check him out. It's a pretty good show. I listen to it every week, and because there's stuff I miss with Battlegrounds because they're posting stuff on Twitter, posting stuff on Discord, and it's just
Reddit.
Yeah, exactly. I can't keep track of all of it. So Hot Drop Podcast, check it out.
It was easier when we were
the H1Z1 podcast.
When we were specifically H1Z1 because we could really just dig into one game.
I used to get text messages every time that I had like a IFTTT script when a certain when certain Reddit users would post a new post to Reddit, I would literally get text messages every time they posted an update. But now, I mean, if I did that for every game, my phone would be going off every 15 minutes with this game's update and that game's update and this game. So it's and I do also want to give a quick shout out to PHVCK and Stairwave, who this week posted a couple of videos and couple links in our news channel in Discord. I'm really encouraging people to do this. Inside of our Discord, there's a Pound News channel. I want you, Brian wants you, if you come across a game, a topic, a story, an interview, something that pertains to Infection or the games that we talk about, throw it in that channel. And what I do is Tuesday, right before we start the show, I go through and I just see, is this in our notes? Is this in our notes? Is this in our notes? And we go through and look at some stuff. So appreciate PHVCK and Stairwave throwing stuff in here this week. And hopefully if you are listening to this and you come across something or you know of something, get in touch with us. Same thing with early access game, alpha games, games we aren't covering. Tweet us or send us an email, contact@infectionpodcast.com, and let us know, because there's just too many freaking games. It's insane. There's just too many damn games in this genre, which is crazy, because we're a very small group of a very small group of a very small group, Brian. We're a couple back, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in this genre still, which is mind-boggling to me. So, there you go.
Very good. All right, so let's go and jump in the tip of the week, since we're over on our time. So tip of the week, where I go through, and sometimes I'll talk about a general gaming tip, but also I talk about specific games. And this week is going to be about a game we haven't really talked about very much, Next Day Survival. So this is tip of the week. All right, so I had an opportunity to play with Donnie PC games a little bit, Next Day Survival last night. And this game can be very difficult to stay alive in. One thing is, the main threat in the game is not necessarily the other players. One thing that, just like some other games, one thing is important to find warm clothing, because the Long Dark has a similar thing going on with it, to where you can freeze to death. You can get really sick and you die. Just the same thing in this one is that if you don't have warm clothes, you can you get a severe cold, and your health will slowly trickle away until you die. Another thing is, you need to find food. You need to find water. If you have gotten this severe cold, you can go through and search around the map and try to find antibiotics. And those, by chance, they might make the cold go away, but it's not guaranteed. So your initial, when you first log into the game, let's say you don't realize what you're doing and it's dark outside and you just run out and start looting, you will die fairly quickly. So that's something that in this game, you kind of have to sit there and huddle around a fire initially and just wait for daylight to come and the temperature to rise a little bit. You go out, you get some clothes, and then you're to the point to where maybe you can go find a weapon. Maybe then you're to the point to where you can actually do some PvP combat. But it's a game that's been out for a little while, but they just recently released to Steam. So it's like $7, or it was $7 this past week, a little over $7. So a really good deal. It is a fun game if you can play it with some friends. But it's one of those games where it's similar to DayZ. It's similar to that style of an Arma type of game, the original like DayZ mod. It has that kind of a feel to it. So if you're into that sort of game, I encourage you to check it out. Next Day Survival. But just remember, if you're going to play it, first thing is either huddle around the fire, because if you do get sick, it's really difficult to get rid of it, and you probably will die initially just sitting in the starter area. So if you can stay warm, go find some clothes, and then at that point it gets a lot easier to where you're actually able to run around the map and loot. So Next Day Survival, it's on Steam, about $7.50 or something like that. Pretty good deal.
Awesome.
So that is tip of the week.
Thank you very much, Brian. Go ahead and do our final raffle of the night here.
All right, so this one is Kramit. So Kramit,
Yes.
845, congratulations. He's been with us since the early H1Z1 days.
Oh
so,
yes, very.
yes.
He's
Thank you very much.
He's been through the entire process. Let's see here, Brian. I do have. I do want to mention, and I know you're going to talk about this for a second. Of course, on our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, you can use our Humble Bundle link. And Brian, you said you picked up a Humble Bundle this week, a book bundle actually. What did you get this week?
Yes. So they actually have a bundle that has a bunch of books on game development.
Wait,
so
I should buy this then.
because yeah. So this one has for Unity 5 or for Unreal Engine. So it has just a lot of books, and it kind of covers a pretty wide area. So in the dollar tier, they have one for building an RPG with Unreal, Unreal Game Development Cookbook, which has like blueprints and just a lot of different things for building environments. The Learning Unreal Game Development book, they have a Getting Started with Unity 5, and then a subscription to something for 30 days, but I didn't really pay attention to that. And then you get in the $8 tier, they have the Development Essentials, Unity 5 for Beginners, which is a series of videos, 3D game design with Unreal Engine and Blender. So
Cool.
one thing you will find is if you try to get into game design and you want to make 3D models, there are some very expensive ways to do that, or ways that you can not sell the things that you make if you make them with a student version of a product. So with this, you're able to learn how to use Blender as well. It tells you how to move objects back and forth. Maybe you design something in Blender and then import it into Unreal Engine. And then they have a blueprints visual scripting for Unreal Engine, and that's the visual scripting language that allows you to actually make your game do different things. So it goes through and gives you a lot of examples because that is based on a real programming language. So C++. And so it helps you understand how to do that. Otherwise, you're not really making a game if you don't learn how to actually program it, because it won't actually do anything. Then they have a Unity 5 game development blueprints, a Unity 5 animation cookbook, and then a Unity 5 game AI programming cookbook. And you may ask, like, because we don't talk about Unity a ton. I have experience with Unreal, so I talk about it. But Unity is probably the most popular game engine, or the most widely used game engine, the most common game engine. So a lot of people, and there's a lot of support for it. Then they have in the $15 tier the Unity or the Unreal Engine 4, and it says 4.x, which means like 4.0, 4.5, whatever version's current. By examples, they just have a lot of examples of code and how to do things. The Unreal 4 scripting with C++ cookbook, the Unity 5 by example, learning C# by developing games with Unity 5. Unreal Engine uses C++. Unity will use C#. And then the Unity 5 cookbook, and then the Unity virtual reality projects, and
cool.
building an Unreal RTS game, the basics. So, and that's a video series. So yeah, so there's a lot. I mean, it's
very cool.
It's enough to get you started.
And this is available
so
for.
If you're interested at all, this would be a lot of content for you to at least get something basic going.
And this is available for 12 more days over on the Humble Bundle website. First, though, go to infectionpodcast.com/support, click the Humble Bundle link, and then go ahead and purchase this, and it helps us out. And then the Saints Row bundle, if you're interested in that, has 6 days left. So by next week's show, that'll be gone. So if you're listening to this, you can go ahead and purchase that if you want, get some games, and help support the show. So, yeah, there we go, Brian.
Very good.
Cool stuff.
Very good. All right. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you're more than welcome to go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, if you are listening to our show and you haven't joined our Discord group, I really encourage you to go to infectionpodcast.com. On the right-hand side, you will see join server, and it's a green button. It kind of shows the different channels we have in there, and maybe some channels that people are in at the moment. You can click that button and it'll connect you right to our Discord server, as well as our Steam group if you want notifications of when our game of the week is, maybe what we'll be playing, and also when our live show starts. And then make sure, if you don't subscribe to us on your phone, maybe you have an opportunity when you're driving your car, or you're on the road or something. I would encourage you to subscribe to our podcast, because maybe you watch us on YouTube or you watch us live. But that's a great way to maybe catch up on a show that you missed. As well as if you go down there, there's a lot of different ways that we're available. So iTunes and TuneIn and just different areas. So I would go check that out so you know where we're available. And if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter Follow us on, or subscribe to us. Well, you don't have to subscribe, but follow us on Twitch, and also just wherever we're at. YouTube.
Smash the like button.
Subscribe on there. I don't even know. There's so many possible names of what these things are.
Come on, Brian. Tell them to smash the like button. Come on.
Smash that. Yeah, smash that like button. Or follow or subscribe or whatever they are. Just click it.
just click the button. Click it or take it. There you go.
Whatever. Whichever button you see, just click it. Other than like
dislike,
block or ban or unfollow. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, can we get I want 500,000 likes on this video on YouTube. Let's see if we can get there.
Yeah.
we get like 60 views a video or something. We could do that.
We'll see if that happens.
That's fun. I ask what I shall receive. Brian, thank you so much. We'll see you next week, and we'll see everybody Friday for Overwatch, 9 p.m.
Overwatch, yes. Make sure you've launched it and it's gotten updated before the start time.
And I'm just going to say it now. Probably an impromptu game day, afternoon, morning thing on Saturday, depending on what people are up to. So if you're around Saturday afternoon, evening, keep an eye on Discord. We'll probably post it. Like last night, I think we gave people like 2 hours notice. Like, hey, we're going to be playing a game around 9 o'clock. So log into Discord and check that out if you're interested in board gaming. Brian, thank you very much, and we will see you next week. I'd say that was a success. Our first show from being produced from our North Carolina studios, the new home of the Infection Podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same place, live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas Eb Craig. Visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. My name is Nick Craig. This is Infection Podcast. We'll see you next week.